Hi guys, how's it going? Ivano here with a new video in our Introduction to PvP series. So now that you've picked your class, I would recommend that next, before you do anything, you first fix your settings. There is a couple of important ones that unfortunately are not configured ideally if you want to play PvP, so we're gonna go over them one by one, and I'll tell you how to fix them. Why is this important? Well, PvP at its most basic level, of course, is see enemy, kill enemy. Meaning, if you can't see your enemy, you can't kill them. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go to graphic settings and we make sure that we have full screen window enabled. This is what I prefer personally. You can try other modes, but this one works for me. Next, make sure that your refresh rate and your frame rate are the correct ones that your monitor can support. And also make sure to put your resolution as high as you can without having bad performance. This bigger resolution basically means that you see more stuff on your screen. With regards to the settings, just play with this a little bit and see how it affects your performance in the game. I recommend turning most things to low except for the visible character limit. Turning shadows off can improve your performance, and the little trick, if you click Ctrl, Shift and F, you can see your frame rate in the bottom left corner here. So in most areas this should be 60 frames per second or higher. If not, then I would recommend that you turn off shadows or lower your texture quality. Next tip, really important, is zoom out. This is something that I see a lot of people doing wrong. This includes more experienced players and even streamers. Yes, it might be nice to kind of zoom in, but for example, if you look now in this perspective, we cannot see these Fathra gangsters on the left side. If we zoom out, we can see them. So zooming out is really critical for PvP, because again, it basically just makes it so that you can be more aware of your surroundings. You can see where the enemies are coming from, what they're going to do, what they're probably going to do next, so make sure you zoom out. Next thing, camera settings. Those are really important. Make sure in order to be able to zoom out more, you set your camera max distance to 100, turn off the global camera shake, and those would be the most important camera settings. Next, you want to go to keybinds and actually find the keybind that you can actually zoom out. By default, this is mouse wheel down, so change it to something that you can use. You can leave it on the mouse wheel, and then make sure to zoom out as far as possible. If you're only going to do one of these tips, this would be the most important. Make sure that you zoom out so you can see more stuff. Next one, also very important. By default, the game, of course, comes with a beautiful soundtrack. I recommend that you turn the music completely off. I'm going to show here in a second why. So let's say we're turning on the music. You can hear it coming in. And the issue with that is then if, you're going to be focused very much on the music and on the ambient sound, you're not going to hear the skills so clearly. So if someone is throwing a thermal detonator on them, before you can even see the animation and look at the buff icons, you can already hear the sound of it. But as you can hear here in this little video, the music is so loud and the ambient volume is so loud, you can almost not hear the sound that the skill makes. Because in PvP it's critical that you react fast to these kind of cues, the sound is probably even more important than the graphic settings. So I recommend that you turn down the music, turn up the sound volume, so that will allow you to focus on what's going on in the game. Let's see one more time the difference. Nice and loud. Next, we're going to be going to nameplates. Now the important ones to turn on are nameplate on self. So now you can see your health bar and your resolve always above your character. Makes it a little bit easier to see. Of course, we also want to be having nameplates on enemy players. That is the most important one. If you turn this off, you're simply trolling. So you can copy my setup. Of course, you could turn off some of the nameplates on NPCs if you want, but always showing the resolve bar, showing the class symbol, and showing guild names, as well as always showing the health bar. Just makes it a little bit easier and, again, faster to see what is actually happening in the game. Next, we're going to go to user interface, scroll down to operation frames, and toggle use operation frames as group frames. Why this is important, we're going to get back to a later video. And probably the second most important setting, in my opinion, is showing the cooldown text. Make sure this is toggled on. You can play with the cooldown styles. It doesn't really matter. I use cooldown text 1. And now, when you will use a skill that has a cooldown, such as Rocket Punch, you will see an information in how many seconds you can use the skill again. Again, this is vital. I would definitely turn this on. This is always the first thing I do when I'm on a new character. Okay, almost done. Go to combat logging. Make sure all of those are toggled on. We'll get back to combat logging in a later video, but for now, just make sure you have them. Flight text, that's a similar thing. Go to flight text, make sure all the flight text is toggled on. This is what I do personally. Flight text will show you things like when you're receiving heals. That is, of course, important. If you see that you're being healed, you know you can stay in the fight longer. Next, go to controls, enable focus target. We'll get back to that in a later video, how exactly you can use that. You can copy my settings here. Final tip, the ability action queue window. Some people turn this down to 0.25. I've tested recently and found that by simply putting it to 0.5, I gained about 1 or 2 points in APM and DPS. I'm not sure why that is the case. Theoretically, it shouldn't matter, but yeah, for best results, you want to put this to 0.5. Final tip, activate the target cycling in screen space. You can see an example of how that works here. Now I'm tabbing, and the targets will be selected from left to right as I'm tabbing through. We'll get to targeting in a later video more in detail, but for now you can see the targeting without having this turned on is really confusing. So the best tip you can do, cycle in screen space, and now you can see it's going from left to right, back to front, but always left to right. It's very useful. So another good tip that will make it, especially if you play ranged classes and classes that can tap dot a lot, make sure you have this turned on. So that's it for today. If you enjoyed it, please don't forget to leave a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys tomorrow.